There is a new world power.
Wakanda will fall.
They think we're vulnerable. They're welcome to find out.
No woman, no cry. Audiences have embraced Wakanda and Black Panther. And Chadwick, he knew exactly what this story, what these images meant to the world.
We all suffered an incredible loss when we lost Chadwick.
Chad was very much our artistic partner. I would spend time with him, just he and I, talking about like, where we would want to see the story go, how much he admired the other characters and the actors that portrayed them.
In the telling of this story, we were all able to honor him together.
It was really moving to come back to Wakanda and for us to be able to do it with a sense of celebration.
There's so much that's happening in this movie. It's amazing. So many new characters to explore. Just seeing the world of Wakanda again, and then now we're going to this whole new world underwater.
My enemies call me Namor.
Introducing Namor, who's a character we were really excited to portray in the film, arguably one of the oldest comic book characters that there is.
The opportunity to play a character like this, it's a dream.
He's the king of an underwater civilization called Talokan.
He is regarded as a living god.
I need to know if Wakanda is an ally or an enemy.
The level of care creating this story, it is astounding. And so it just really felt like for all of us to give it everything we have and more.
I'm just so grateful and blessed to be a part of this. The actors were filled with emotion and passion.
I am queen of the most powerful nation, and my entire family is gone.
Altogether, we ended up using those feelings to create something really special.
The action and adventure with the emotional stakes so high. Things are happening up, down, and everywhere.
I'm so excited about the world being able to tap into Wakanda again. How each character takes on new challenges. And I'm excited about us honoring Chad. Yeah, he would want us to just inspire the world.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my new Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer video. There's a whole bunch of new footage. They talk a lot about the movie, so we'll break it down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Of course, I'll be doing a bunch of videos for the movies we get a little bit closer. As of me posting this video, we don't have long to wait. In talking about the Killmonger of it all, yes, they are bringing Killmonger back. Might not be quite the way people expect it to be, but if you theorize that he might show up through the ancestral plane as Force Ghost Killmonger, they are actually doing a version of that. I believe all these scenes where everything is on fire in the throne room here and there's water all around, like it's after this big attack, I believe these scenes are taking place inside the ancestral plane. And I think the idea is that instead of getting guidance from T'Challa, like she's looking for T'Challa in the ancestral plane, but instead she winds up finding Killmonger, and he gives her the advice that she needs in becoming the next Black Panther. So he winds up influencing her take on the Black Panther character, which I think is one of the reasons why her Black Panther suit looks so much like Killmonger's suit with all the gold highlights on it. We get a little bit more footage of them talking about Namor, a few more scenes with his character, and the way that they contextualize him as a mutant in the MCU. Like, what's going on with him and how close is he going to be to the comics? He has some new dialogue. He says, "My enemies call me Namor." He pronounces it a little bit differently himself, like he says Namor, just because they're changing a little bit about the backstory of him and his people. Like, they're from MCU Atlantis in the comics, but in my previous videos, I've talked about how they wanted to change that a little bit so that it's not quite so similar to MCU Aquaman's backstory. Like in the comics, Aquaman's father is human, his mother is Atlantean. It's kind of the same deal for Namor. His father is a human, his mother is an Atlantean. Even though Namor did come before Aquaman in the comics, and I love the way they reference that in this featurette too. They basically say he's one of the first comic book characters ever. In the comics, they refer to Namor as the first mutant, because in the real life history of comic books just in general, in like real life chronology, he is the first mutant character that ever debuted in the comics. Now in the context of the movie, in the MCU timeline, he might not be the very first mutant to have ever been born on planet Earth. It'll be interesting to see the way they develop that, just because there's so many other mutant-based characters they're introducing through Marvel Phase 5 and Marvel Phase 6 as we head up to the new X-Men movie. Some of them will be like Namor and Miss Marvel, who were born on MCU planet Earth, like 616 Earth, and some will be like Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and they'll come from the multiverse. I know there's a whole bunch of questions about Deadpool 3, like where does it fit into the MCU, because they're technically from the Fox Marvel universe, but there's all this multiverse stuff going on during Marvel Phase 4. They said that that movie is going to be an MCU movie, like it will be connected to the MCU, but because Deadpool is so meta, like so fourth wall breaking, and he calls out so many big tropes, I expect him to make a bunch of jokes about the timelines, again like he did in the first Deadpool movie, like which timeline are we in? This is so confusing. Which cinematic universe are we in? This is ridiculous.
Okay, this looks fun in a last days of Fox fire sale kind of way. Not sure if it was worth diverting Canadian Cumberbatch's little mind away from my next movie, or any tips on getting into the MCU there, Korg?
Just expect him to make a bunch of jokes about that, because he's already referenced coming into the MCU in that Deadpool and Korg video, so what'll probably happen is they'll just call that out. He'll either already be in the MCU at the beginning of the movie with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, or they'll be in the Fox Marvel universe and something will happen, and then during the course of the movie they'll come to the MCU universe. That's the beauty of Deadpool movies, is they can be ridiculous as long as they call it out during the movie. Like as long as he makes fun of it, it's all cool. We saw a little bit of that during the She-Hulk finale, but I don't expect Deadpool to get quite that meta. Like he does break the fourth wall, but like she broke the fourth wall and was talking to a real life Kevin Feige figure. Like she broke into real life. So her epic fourth wall break turned into almost a fifth wall break, and I don't think that Deadpool will take it quite that far. But talking more about Namor in the MCU, they are changing Atlantis to Talocan. They pronounce it a little bit differently between some of the characters in Black Panther, so we'll see. It's based a little bit more on Aztec and Mayan mythology. I think the idea is that when you talk about like the big history of the MCU, we saw a little bit of that during the Eternals movie. At some point, some tragedy befell the Aztec and the Mayan empires, and portions of their people just broke off and formed this other Talocan city, and eventually that descended beneath the waves. But if it wasn't clear, the whole idea is that they're meant to be an advanced city that's been hidden from the world, just like Wakanda. So for the most part, they're like an underwater version of Wakanda. And the really cool thing the producers actually revealed about it, some of the actors, is they're treating it a little bit like a mob movie where you have two warring families going at each other, like obviously Namor's family and Black Panther's family. It confirms some of my theories about the dynamics of what's happening inside Wakanda in the wake of T'Challa's death. The beginning of the main plot picks up about a year after T'Challa's death. They don't explain exactly how he died, but I believe it's meant to be from some prolonged illness. As far as I know, there's no giant twist, and he wasn't accidentally killed by Namor or anything like that. As far as we know, Namor doesn't really get involved with the Wakandan characters in the plot until all the Riri Williams, the underwater vibranium, the people discovering Talocan, and all the Doctor Doom stuff that's going on in the background. In all the scenes of Ramonda inside the United Nations, I think has something to do with the rest of the world coming for their vibranium. Like, why haven't you revealed yourself before this? You have all this advanced technology, you could help the world, why aren't you sharing everything with us? So it's a lot of that real energy of the world just being very greedy for her vibranium. And the rumor right now is that Doctor Doom is going to be behind this big vibranium plot, like he's the one that kind of sets the conflict off, and he's really the one pulling the strings. Just like all the other people in the world that want their hands on vibranium, he wants it too for himself. He's a man of magic and a man of technology. In the comics, the Doom War arc is basically him invading Wakanda to try and steal their vibranium. Fun fact too, Shuri became the Black Panther right after that arc, just like it seems she's going to be in this movie. But I think part of the idea is that you have this research team hired by Doctor Doom to find vibranium on the ocean floor, like underwater vibranium deposits. And while that's happening, they just happen to discover Talocan, and that's what sets things off. Like once they've been discovered, Namor becomes worried that the rest of the world will come for his people the way that they're coming for Wakanda. So I think the idea is that they wind up fighting the Wakandans, like you have this big invasion happening like it is in the comics, because Namor blames Riri Williams because she developed the technology that allowed the research team to find his city, and Shuri, Ramonda, the other Wakandans wind up protecting Riri Williams, like you see her in all of Shuri's labs here. So the way Namor treats it is that the friend of my enemy is also my enemy, and that's why he comes for them. I made the Captain America Civil War comparison in the past because Bucky is blamed for the death of Black Panther's father, so Black Panther wants to come for Bucky, Captain America protects him, so you have a situation where Black Panther winds up fighting Captain America and it divides the entire Avengers. This time the difference is that it's mostly self-contained to the Black Panther characters like from the first Black Panther movie and all of Namor's characters. And through that concept, they introduced that Doctor Doom is behind everything, pulling strings. Like the whole idea that Baron Zemo was pulling strings in Captain America Civil War. Doctor Doom is that person in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But I'm not expecting them to actually show him on screen. Like I don't know that they've actually cast an actor for MCU Doctor Doom. What they might do is just mention his company or his name, and then he'll show up in an actual Marvel Phase 5 project in the future. I also think the idea is that during the MCU Fantastic Four movie in Marvel Phase 6, Doctor Doom is not meant to be the main villain of that either. Just because they don't want to repeat plot that they've done before, and they've done Doctor Doom as the villain in all the previous Fantastic Four movies. The other big thing you may have heard about is the idea that they might introduce Black Panther's son through the movie, like he might wind up having a son with Nakia that we don't actually learn about till the end of the movie or at some point during the movie. A lot of questions about that. He does have a son in the comics. His name is Azari, but his son is with Storm, so he gets both her mutant powers, like he can control the weather like Storm can, and he also becomes the next Black Panther. They might play with that idea during the movie. Like, there's a lot of questions about them passing the costume between a couple different people. I believe that Shuri is meant to be like the new Black Panther after the events of this movie, but she won't always be the Black Panther. I think the idea is that when his son comes of age, Black Panther's son will become the next Black Panther. But because of the way the timeline moves, like how old is his son going to be during the movie? Because Nakia clearly doesn't look pregnant, and if he's been dead for a year already, his son would have already had to have been born at some point before his death. Because we didn't see Nakia right after the events of Avengers Endgame, like we just saw Black Panther with his family, what might wind up happening is they just say that she was pregnant during the blip, and the son was born during the blip. I know a lot of people are asking about them doing Young Avengers because we have Ironheart in this movie, we just got Scar, son of Hulk, he seems like a prime Young Avengers character. We have a Hulk. And if they're introducing Black Panther's son and he's going to become the future Black Panther, wouldn't he also join the Young Avengers team? So we're talking Marvel Phase 6 or after Marvel Phase 6, but I do think that they will eventually do Young Avengers. Like, it seems stupid for them to not try to do it. If you spotted any other Easter eggs and references in the footage that I didn't talk about in the trailer, just write them below in the comments, and I'll do more Black Panther videos as we get closer to the movie coming out. Everyone click here for my House of the Dragon Episode 9 video, and click here for my other big Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.